Hey guys, Matt dropping in for a bit of an addendum to the episode. First of all, apologies for being out late. There was an issue on Skype's end. When I closed the recording, it continued to record in the background for another 3 hours. And I have been getting 4 hour blank recordings since then, so something weird is going on there. Just because of that extra 3 hour delay, I wasn't able to edit, upload, post, all that fun stuff last night. The other news: Utica City Comets, whatever, the Adirondack Bank Center, just sent out a email about events this weekend, and you've got the Utica University hockey team playing for their shot at the Frozen Four. There's mentions of the other hockey game going on that weekend between Air Force and AIC. But the big news is buried in the bottom under Utica City, where it just tells you that, hey, we're making a playoff push. And if you read, you'll see that the player I was alluding to, or will be alluding to in this episode, coming back is Darren Toby. His visa issues have apparently been cleared up. He will be taking the turf for the Boys in Blue for the first time this season, and that is absolutely huge. I can't understate how much that can help this back line even more down the stretch. Yeah, that's really all I wanted to say. Darren Toby, welcome back to the city. We're happy to have you. Wish you could have been here all year, but that's not your fault. With that, thanks for listening, and please enjoy the episode. Hello, and welcome to Keeper's Corner Podcast, where we're breaking down anything and everything Utica City FC related. With your hosts, as always, Matthew Sterling, Michelle Brooks, and Brandon Brooks. Let's go. Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Keeper's Corner Podcast. Brandon and Michelle are off for this one, but I'm here, as usual, Matt, and I'm joined by another Matt this time. It's been a minute since he's been on. Please welcome back to the show, the FC fanatic, Matt Huber.
How's it going, Matt?
Oh, it's going pretty good after the weekend that Utica had.
I gotta tell you, we'll get into it in a little bit, but definitely the best weekend of soccer I've seen all year from them.
Oh, agree, hands down. It was a lot cleaner than we've seen, a lot more energy than we've seen, and that goes off the field as well. There was a lot more energy.
Yep, absolutely.
We'll get into that in a bit. Before we get into it, I just want to mention something that I thought was kind of funny. A few weeks back, about a month ago, both In the Box and the Keeper's Corner podcast had a extra long recording session where we each put out a segment called Overtime for the first time. And in both cases, we were ranty and curse word filled. And I just want to go on record and say we did not plan this. It was a complete and utter fluke, and I think that was hilarious.
Yeah, I think, In the Box, I think if we have a show this week, it will also be profanity laced as well. Not from myself, but from my co-host, Adam.
Mm-hmm. That's quite, understandable.
But, I will say, and I will mention this later, we also had some referee issues in one of the games.
Yes, and we will get into that. But to begin with, in the Friday night game, there were not any referee issues that really concerned me too much. Fairly even both ways, even as far as bad calls go. Like nothing really handed either side a definitive advantage at any point.
Right.
that Friday night game did see Utica down in Harrisburg for the third and final time this season, and saw Utica leave with a 10-5 victory, sweeping Harrisburg, at least for the first time on the road since they made the move down the thruway from Syracuse.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, it's a good feeling to know that Utica had a better record in Harrisburg than Baltimore did.
Yeah, that was. It's definitely something that makes you feel a little bit better about having a completely winning record against that team and not winning against the other.
Right. But, I mean, Baltimore's in the mix for the playoffs, and Utica's kind of a little behind. But one positive is we went undefeated in Harrisburg.
Yes. Which is something we'd failed to do in each of the past 2 seasons here in Utica. So,
yeah,
small victories, you got to take them this year.
That's right.
All right, Matt, let's get into this a little bit. Do you have a stat that tells the story for Friday night?
Fun fact, I do. Shots on goal in the third quarter, 10-4 for Utica. And definitely showed. They scored 4 goals to Harrisburg's 0.
Okay. The third quarter was just a dominating performance for Utica. Probably the best third quarter we've seen out of them since they made that move from Syracuse, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, you saw them gain momentum in the second quarter. I mean, after Harrisburg scored, Utica roared right back and scored, both scoring with about a minute and a half left. And then once the third quarter started, I mean, Utica rattled off a couple goals in the first 3 minutes. And then from there, it was smooth sailing for them.
So my stat that tells the story here is 6, and it starts with that goal with a minute 20 left in the second, and then Utica scored 6 unanswered goals.
I mean, one with possibly one of the best goals of the year, if not the goal of the year.
Yes. That would, of course, be the scorpion kick goal to that Joey Tavernese had.
It was a Wallace scorer too.
Officially, though, at least on the score sheet, still it is assisted by Nate Bordeaux. Although, yeah, it really was a self-assist Wallace scorer.
Yep, absolutely. But I mean, that was a great shot, and I mean that was just the beginning for Joey this weekend. I mean, he had another top of the arc goal. I think it was the end of the third, if I remember correctly. Maybe it was in the fourth. I don't know. But, the interesting thing with that one was we saw Andrew Coughlin on the field.
Yeah, that Friday night, Utica was down some players. Vitali had traveled with the team. He had to return to Syracuse. Unfortunately, his grandmother passed. Obviously, all our condolences go out to Domenico.
Yep.
And Utica entered the game with 2 keepers on their roster per requirements and only 12 field players available. So,
yeah. So I mean, without some key players this weekend, Utica definitely stepped up. And I think they know they're still in the mix for that 8th playoff spot. And I mean, that game definitely helped out.
Yeah, it helped us in the standings. We were able to leapfrog Tacoma, which we're only a point ahead of Tacoma, and 5 out of 8th place at this point with 5 games to play, and we can talk a little bit more about that later.
Right.
Now, Brandon and Michelle, like I said, aren't here tonight, but Brandon did share his play that changed the game here, and it was Tim Goldman's 3rd goal, his first career hat trick that came 28 seconds into the 4th quarter. was the sixth goal in that 6-goal unanswered streak. And he said that at that moment, that was when he knew that we were just going to shut it out.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely. I mean, any of the goals you could say were definitely changed the game. But I'm going to go back to Bo's score with 13 or with like a minute 18 left in the second quarter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that Harrisburg could have got into halftime with all of that momentum. Bo closed the door on that rather quickly, and Harrisburg could get back into it at that point.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you on that. I mean, it was Utica opened up a 2-0 lead to start the game, had blown it, and then 20 seconds after it's tied, Utica has the lead again, and then we headed into halftime up 1.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, and we have to give credit to Tim. I mean, Tim Goldman with his first career hat trick. If that was in Utica, the Adirondack Bank Center would have become a dome.
Yes.
Because it would have been so loud. Well, of course it was loud anyways, Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
But if he had scored a hat trick at home, it would have been just 8 million times louder.
Oh, my Lord.
But I know I yelled at my TV when he scored all 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely needed with all of the injuries that we have, and good to see Joey starting to come back to form.
Yeah, I mean, if you told me at the beginning of the season that Tim Goldman would be tied for 5th on the team in points, I would have not believed you, just because he was buried on the depth chart, even in his second year. But he's really stepped it up here. And Joey has just turned into a different monster in the second half of the season. He's averaging 2 points a game since the midway mark. Just took home Offensive Player of the Week. And this is really the kind of Peter Pan that we expected to see when he re-signed with the team.
Absolutely. You called it. I was kind of thinking Tim was going to get it, but maybe they could have done co-offensive players of the week. I think both of them definitely deserved it.
Let's not forget the unsung hero of the game on Friday, Rafa Godoy, with his Gordie Howe hat trick with 3 assists, and then scoring, gets a 4th point on Sunday. Huge weekend for him too, after not playing with the team up until last weekend for like 2 months where he wasn't on a game day roster.
Yeah, and you saw with, the absence of Christian Segura, Domenico Vitale. You saw these players that we normally don't see getting a lot of playing time. Tim, for example, Rafa Godoy, Kevin Blackwood scoring a goal. So
I like Blackwood. He is another physical, big defender. Not quite as skillful as Jake, but built in the same style as him. And I think as thrown into the fire as he was in his first game covering Taiyu, I think it really helped him.
Absolutely. Yeah, so these guys, and Wanalava, you can't forget Wanalava. His presence doesn't show on the stat sheet, but his effort is definitely there.
Yes.
And we saw that on Sunday, which I'm sure we'll get into, with what he did.
Yeah, it's actually where I want to bring it. Sunday was home game against the San Diego Sockers, or as they were on the scoreboard, the Sox.
Go Sox.
They just came in after a hard-fought game down in Baltimore, made it into town about 6 a.m., had to be at the arena at noon. So, you hope they slept on the buses as much as they could. And Utica gave them the fight of their lives. Absolutely.
I think after that game, and it's funny, in the box on Facebook, there's a Sockers fan, and he said, "Boy, you seem happy for a loss." And I'm like, I gotta tell you, after the game, that arena was louder than any soccer's game this season.
Yeah, when was the last time any of us have gone to a game anywhere and the home team loses and the fans are still trying to blow the roof off chanting the team's name after the final whistle's blown?
Yep. Yeah. Usually 1-goal games are really, really frustrating. And we've seen that this year with Utica. And downtrodden fans are like up in arms, and myself included. But heads held high, chanting, just showing the guys that you definitely busted your butts.
Mm-hmm.
And that game could have easily been ours.
Yeah, a couple things go differently, and it's a tie game, if not a Utica victory in regulation. Do you have a stat that tells the story for this one?
I don't know. I don't think. I think the stat would kind of be throughout the entire season, but I mean the power play. The power play is like next to last in the MASL right now, and I think, and we mentioned Wadalava about 5 minutes ago. He created a shootout, and oh wait, was there a shootout? No.
Are you thinking? I think it was Ronaldinho.
I'm thinking of Harrisburg.
Okay.
Never mind.
Oh yeah, when he got taken down from behind.
Yeah, that was Harrisburg. Did Utica even have a power play then?
Utica didn't get a power play.
Okay, well then never mind about the power play.
Okay, I was going to say we defended one.
That's a stat that we should probably look at as a whole, but
yeah, man advantage has been terrible.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't really have like a specific stat. I think Utica coming back 6-2 to make it 6-5. I mean, scoring 3 unanswered goals. Yeah, that could be one, I guess. Maybe.
All right. Well, we were and we will be somewhat critical of the officiating in this game. I believe most of the fans in the arena that day felt like the calls tended to go San Diego's way 7 out of 10 times. So it's surprising to me when you look at the score sheet. Common fouls, San Diego, 10. Utica, 10.
Yeah. I mean, but you have to look at ones that could have changed the game.
Mm-hmm.
The one I'm talking about in particular was I believe it was the Craig Childs goal restart, where I believe it was Vitali got knocked down.
I know that's the next goal. Cesar Serta gets the rebound off of Leonardo's shot that Coughlin deflects. Yeah, I question that one too, especially after we saw Utica have a goal waved off 2 weeks ago against Baltimore when our friend Nelson Santana bounced off of Nate and a shove was called.
Yeah. So I mean, and a game like this, from what I've heard, the referees they had not reffed an M1 game. So the fact that they were reffing this particular game, I mean, not really the best pairing, but.
No, I mean, so I found them on the website, and the acting senior official who was wearing number 18 has 4 years experience reffing arena soccer at any level.
Yeah, you could tell he was kind of lost in everything, and there were some definite calls that affected the game. But
on the bright side, I believe we will be seeing this call explained on the Ryan Sigich and Phil Levanko show on Massel TV this week. That said, I if Sigich defends the no call, I'm going to point right at that the Santana foul, and then I'm going to point at the rule book that says an elbow thrown is an automatic blue card because Serta throws an elbow to clear out Vitale.
Yeah, I mean, and it was clear as day. I mean, I know a lot of people were upset at the officiating after the game. But I mean, with that, all of that being said, those guys put on a heck of a game.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, play that changed the game. I'm going to say it's the Bo Jelovic goal in the third quarter. And the reason I say that is because we're down 5-2. You're facing a team that's only lost in overtime this year, and that happened one time. They came in with like a 14-game win streak.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, down 5-2. You're missing so many guys. Like there were 5 rookies on the game day roster. You could have just rolled over, but they didn't, and they kept fighting. And it started with that Bo goal.
Well, I'm going to go to the next goal.
Okay,
I'm going to go Rafa Godoy. I think Rafa Godoy's hustle play definitely brought even more life into the Adirondack Bank set, more so than the Bo goal.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think at that point San Diego's like putting it on cruise control. They're like, "Oh, we got this, da-da-da, we're the Sockers, whatever." I mean, that was a lax play by their goalie, and they definitely paid for it.
Yeah,
and that made them think. They put Pardo back in net after that.
I believe they had to. Xavier Snare-Williams, hopefully he's all right. But if you go back and watch the replay of it,
him and Pino joined up in the net.
Yeah, it looks like as Pino was kicking to try to clear the ball, he caught Xavier Snare-Williams in the head. And you could see him reaching at the back of his head and neck area as he was being escorted off the turf.
Yeah, I know Pino was also hurt during that play.
I believe we saw him come back out, though.
Yeah. But, I mean, at the same time, Pardo came back in, and then we scored again.
Yes.
Tim scored again. So.
Yeah, the Wallace score for Tim Goldman.
Yep. So, yeah, I think that's the loudest I've heard the odd in quite some time when they scored that 5th goal.
Mm-hmm. It was. I mean, if they had tied that game, the roof was coming off that place.
Exactly, 100%. And then it almost happened. It almost happened.
Oh, so close.
And that's, you know, thinking of, and it's funny, soccer fans think, I put on in the box that if Utica made the playoffs,
mm-hmm.
that would be a team you would not want to play. I mean, especially with how well they're playing right now.
Right.
And soccer fans are saying, well, we had to ride up from Baltimore the night before and all of these excuses. And I'm like, out of all of the, like, Baltimore's done it, Florida's done it, like, all of these teams do it.
Yeah, Ontario did it. Harrisburg's done it.
And the best game they played was against you guys.
Yeah.
You're the best team in the league. You look at the first game Utica played at home, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
They had come in the night before, drove up from Baltimore. They didn't. They had so much rust on them.
Mm-hmm.
Now look at them. I mean, it's night and day. I wouldn't want to play Utica.
Yeah, I do think that Utica caught a couple breaks in this game. Just Giles went down with that leg injury in the first quarter after he scored the set piece goal. Didn't play the rest of the game. That might have been just from cramping from playing less than 24 hours ago and being up there as far as it goes for being a professional athlete. You're starting to get on the older side.
Yeah, he told me it was more of a precautionary thing. I think he was fine to play. But I mean, they're pretty much in the playoffs, so I think.
Yeah, they've clinched the West already. So.
Yeah, so I think at this point, like those types of players are going to be cut back just a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And then they had Felipe Gonzalez go down with an ankle injury that looked pretty uncomfortable. He had to get helped off the turf. Hopefully it's not as serious as the last couple ankle injuries we've seen.
Oh God. Yeah, we've seen our share of ankle injuries this year.
Yeah.
We definitely lead the league in that.
Yeah, I mean that's why Christian missed these two games, and I've seen the ankle on his Instagram story. Based on swelling, I'm going to say it's a grade 2, if not a grade 3. I would not expect him to play this weekend against Harrisburg, and would suspect they try to keep him fresh for next weekend when we have Baltimore and Florida to play.
Yeah, and don't be surprised if this weekend you see Moises Gonzalez on the field kicking some soccer balls around.
Starting to do a little bit of rehab. That's good to
I
hear.
don't know if he's coming back. But I mean, if he does, I mean, towards the end of the season, that would be obviously huge.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
I don't know. It's an ACL. I'm not gonna get too excited. There's still some uncertainty, but there also may be another player rejoining the team. I don't want to say too much on that front. It is to be decided.
Hopefully they rejoin because I mean we definitely need the bodies. I mean,
yes,
but at the same time, we were talking about, we're starting to see some of these guys that never really had a chance to play.
Mm-hmm.
Start playing. I mean, the Ronaldinhos, the Isak Somaus. I mean, we're seeing them more and more, and we're seeing. I mean, yeah, Rafa Godoy has played indoor soccer, but I mean, we're starting to see him more. And Kevin Blackwood and Wanalava.
Yeah.
And, like, all of these guys are hustle players, which is absolutely something Utica needs.
Yeah, Utica.
I think.
In the first half of the season, I mean, I think we both agree. The team kind of hung their heads at times. They didn't go 110% when it was clear that they were going to lose a game. You know, they weren't the crispest passers. Their offense was pretty static. Defensively, they were Swiss cheese as everyone was going down with injuries. But if we're speaking of hustle plays, we got to go back to Friday night and the goal line clear that Joey Tavernisi had that took away a goal.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are some of my favorite plays. It reminds me of a few years ago. I'd say like 5 or 6 years ago. There was a play. I think it was a Kansas City Milwaukee game, and
Hmm.
Tenzin Rampa, defender for Milwaukee, who's now the assistant coach of the Wave, cleared a ball off the line with a bicycle kick. One of the most unreal plays I've ever seen. I think it made SportsCenter top 10, if I remember correctly. Um,
I could believe that. Yeah.
yeah, so it kind of took me back to that particular play. Um, so yeah, that right there. I mean, they showed a lot of hustle this weekend.
Hmm. No, definitely. We've seen more and more of Quentin Swift. Like among the rookies, I'd say he's probably number one out of the five that we have on the team at the moment as far as playing time goes and Ryan Hall's depth chart. And it's hard to disagree with that. Um, he might not have as fancy footwork as Somau or be quite as quick as Ronnie, but he definitely has a slightly better feel for the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, he did play a little. I mean, he played like 1 or 2 games for Baltimore a few years ago, but I
Yeah,
don't
one
think
game in,
that
I
would
don't
be,
count
yeah,
it.
that would really be enough for me to. But yeah, like we've been saying, I think for the future, like once we get everyone back and we
Hmm.
have these guys on the team, like that's added depth, and that's
Yeah.
definitely, I mean, a Ron Newman Cup caliber team. I mean, it's great to see it now. Um, and like we said, it's great to see Joey. It looks like he's having more fun. I think you can tell in his mannerisms. I think he's having fun, and it's
Yeah.
showing.
I
You
mean,
know,
we both saw him after that loss in Ontario, and I mean, the whole team looked defeated. But after Joey got that goal on Sunday, he went out and did the midfield dance party with Coughlin, and that was the first time we've gotten to see that this year. That's like an iconic celebration for them.
yeah, yeah. It was definitely good to see the guys in a good mood and good spirits um, before, during, and after the game.
Hmm. All right. So I know you saw it. I put it up in the box. That little spreadsheet that I put together, just looking at the last three wild card spots.
Yep.
Um, and before we go into depth on that, I just want to say, personally, in my personal opinion, I think 8 teams making the playoff is too many. 5 teams for a wild card is insane, especially at least with a 12 teams league. Um, I think 5 would have made more sense. You have each division winner go, and then the 4th and 5th, the next 2 best records play each other for the 4 seed to play number 1.
That would. I mean, yeah, that would have been another another option. I mean,
But I mean, that's just a more traditional.
right. But I mean, being selfish,
Yes.
I think 8 teams would be nice. Um,
Um,
because
that's
I
it.
mean, because even the 8 seed. I mean, I think regardless of who has the 8, whoever the 8 teams are that are going to make the playoffs, there are going to be some great games.
Hmm.
And I think the more games, the better. The more games that we have, the more eyes that might watch, the more people that might be attracted to the game. So I think, and this is, I mean, if we're talking playoffs, I think something that they should have done or could do in the future is have the semifinals in Kansas City or have the semifinals somewhere with, I'll preface it by saying somewhere with a good broadcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mean like, I know you want that home field to try to draw the crowd in, but I can also understand, going to a neutral site where they have, the last thing I want to do is tune into the finals if it's,
In Florida.
Florida. Florida's hosting one of the two games.
No, I will not. I will not. So I've been talking about wanting to. I might go to one of the playoff venues.
Mm-hmm.
Might even do the finals. I don't know yet. But if it's in Florida, I'm not going. I will not go or watch it because, I mean, we all know that broadcast is awful.
Right. So let's talk about this, where teams stand in the bottom half of the league. And I guess a little bit above. These are teams that haven't clinched the playoffs. If we're being fully honest here, only Kansas City, San Diego, and Florida have clinched at this point.
Yep.
Baltimore sits 4th, Chihuahua 5th. Those 5 teams all have 30 points or more. At the moment, 35 points will clinch you a spot in the playoffs. In the 8th seed is St. Louis. Dallas is in 7th, 5 points ahead of them, and Ontario's in 6 points ahead of St. Louis. Below St. Louis is Milwaukee, 3 points back, Utica 5 points back, Tacoma 6 points back, and Harrisburg 13 points back. Now, if we look at the strength of schedule, I would say that Utica may have a path to the playoffs.
Absolutely.
It really depends on what St. Louis does and what Milwaukee does. I guess Ontario could also play quite a role. They have the toughest schedule, 7 games left, and I believe, if I'm remembering correctly from Striking Fury, they play 4 games in 6 days.
Yeah, and plus I think they have to go down to Chihuahua and play as well.
Yes.
So I think, if we're talking who's going to sneak in, Utica definitely has the capabilities of doing so, and I think we saw that this last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
What we haven't seen this year is a quality win.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Baltimore, Florida. I mean, we haven't beaten either one of them. Of course, we've only played Florida twice.
3 times.
3 times. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because we played twice in a row.
Yeah.
And we haven't beaten them. So.
Right. And we're 0-5 against.
That has to happen. Literally, in order for Utica to make the playoffs, we have to have at least 4 out of 6 points that weekend. I would say 6, but I'll give them some leeway. You look at the schedules for Milwaukee and St. Louis. They're pretty much playing each other.
Yeah, they play each other twice.
It's a home and home, and then I think St. Louis has Kansas City the rest of the season, if I remember correctly.
Yes, St. Louis finishes out with 3 straight games against KC.
Right. So, if for Utica to make the playoffs, then I think you're going to have to see Milwaukee and St. Louis split.
Mm-hmm. And then KC sweep St. Louis.
Right. Or they can both go into overtime. Both games can go into overtime, and then they get less points, which is fine with me. So I think you mentioned San Diego and Florida and Kansas City and Baltimore and Chihuahua. I think those 5 are fine.
Yeah.
I think Ontario's fine. I don't think you're going to see Ontario stumble. So you're looking at Dallas, St. Louis, Milwaukee, Utica. And I don't even know what Dallas's schedule is.
I know they play Milwaukee twice. And I'm actually just looking up their scores and schedule here. So Dallas has Kansas City, Milwaukee, Ontario, Milwaukee. They only have 4 games left. Out of those, in the running for that 8 seed, they have the least amount of games.
Yeah. So, I mean, if, like I said, if in a perfect world, if you want Utica to make the playoffs, you're going to want Dallas to win those 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
So, against Milwaukee. So I think Dallas will be fine. So then you're going to have to want St. Louis and Milwaukee to split, and then Utica run the table. I honestly think that's the only way it's going to happen, and I hope it does. I mean, after what we saw this last weekend, definitely possible.
So if St. Louis only gets 3 more points, Utica would only need to win 3 games to pass them. If Milwaukee only gets 3 more points because of the split, and their 5th game is against KC, Utica only needs 3 games to pass them. Now, you got Harrisburg, you got Tacoma. Those both seem winnable. The tough point is going to be getting that 3rd win, either against Florida, Baltimore, in Baltimore, or Chihuahua.
And I think if you're Florida and Chihuahua, you're pretty much solidified in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that goes, would you rest some of your starters? Would you bring up some guys? You're starting to see Baltimore do that, which, oddly enough, they probably could have done that a few months ago, but whatever. It's for another show. But do they play those guys? Get them ready for the playoffs. So it's definitely going to be interesting from a roster perspective what these teams do, especially Chihuahua. Like, what are you going to do? You know, Tacoma's going to start their guys. Maybe. If they're out of the playoff picture, they might start new guys. So right. I think you're going to see like Milwaukee, Utica, St. Louis playing your main guys the rest of the year. Because you kind of have to.
Right. I mean, for Baltimore, it might come down to seeding. You're 7 points behind KC, although KC has been up and down lately. They also have 1 more game to play than Baltimore. Chihuahua is 1 point behind Baltimore. As things stand now, they would play Baltimore for the first round of the playoffs. However, they have 2 more games where they can make up points than Baltimore has left. Like I said, Ontario has 7 games left where they can make up points, but they have the toughest schedule. Yeah, it might come down to, hey, who would you rather play in the first round of the playoffs? And if Kansas City continues to stumble, it might not be bad to sit back in that 6th seed.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's. I definitely like the points idea for the MSL. I think it adds an extra dimension. It gets us talking more about it. We're going to talk about it on In the Box. I mean, we're talking about it now.
Right.
So it's definitely adding a buzz to the league.
And it would not surprise me that last weekend if, like you said, Tacoma's resting. They play San Diego, Ontario, and Chihuahua twice before they come to Utica.
Yeah, and then I think Chihuahua plays Harrisburg the day before they come to Utica. I think it's Harrisburg. I think Chihuahua at Harrisburg, and then Chihuahua at Utica.
Right, and we play Tacoma the night before we play Chihuahua.
Right, but I mean, it's a home game. They're 2 home games, so we don't have to travel.
Right. I mean, at this point, Chihuahua's got 6 games left to play. None of them are their home game against Ontario are back to back. Their games up in Tacoma are a Friday Sunday series, but so it's not like they're cramming a bunch of them in like Ontario has to. But
right.
Excuse me. Yeah, there is a road. It kind of relies on other teams losing and better teams continuing to be better teams and not taking their foot off the gas here at the end of the season.
Yeah, it's possible.
Possible. I don't know. If we sneak in as the 8, it looks like we'll get San Diego. So, given the way this past weekend went.
Yeah, exactly. And that's without some of our key guys, which at that point we might get back. So, who knows?
Yeah. And I mean, this game going on right now could have some potential. You have Ontario playing Florida, and they're tied at 2 in the third quarter.
Wow, that's definitely good for Ontario. Florida's more of an offensive team, and keeping them to 2 goals is really good. So,
well, your buddy Ricardo Carvalho just scored to tie it.
Oh, okay.
That brings us to Sunday's home game against Harrisburg, 2:00 per usual. It's the mascot game.
So before we go any further, have you seen the In the Box recently?
Yes, I did see that someone else will be having a mascot game as well this weekend, and yes. You guys have bullied them into adding a corn dog.
No. For the record, there was no bullying. I said it would be hilarious if, and he said okay. So this is all on him.
Poor Eric.
I tried getting a corn dog mascot in and having Ray in it. So, I mean, I tried getting a corn dog for our mascot game, and it hasn't come to fruition. But
what if you just get it in and jump the boards?
I mean, someone would have to take the kids home. I mean, if someone wants to take the kids home, I'll do it. But, yep, our mascot game. Some of the most disturbing mascots ever grace the Adirondack Bank Center.
Utica City's keeper will be there. Naughty from the Comets. Jeremiah B. Frog from Big Frog 104. Utica Fire Department Sparky. The MVP of the last mascot game, Frankie the Hoffman hot dog, will be there.
Yeah, Frankie. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Syracuse Mets are sending Scooch. Cookie and the Coco Koala and Coco the Koalas from Connected Community. Dunkin' because they rebranded, will be sending Sprinkles Cuppy and Iced Cuppy. And everyone's favorite viral sensation,
Booger.
Flemmy the Flu Monster from Kinney's Drugs.
Oh, God. Flemmy, I wonder how many times they've washed that costume. That's a poor costume. I whoever's in there, bless your heart. But yeah, so
I kind of wonder how they're going to split them up, because I'm hoping Naughty gets to face off against Keeper, because I am Team Naughty all the way.
Oh, so am I. Yes. I will make sure. I'll have to make sure Willie B watches that game. He loves Keeper.
Yes, we heard about his euthanized Keeper line in the box a couple weeks back.
Yeah. He's him and I are in a love-hate relationship, and currently it's a hate because I did send him a picture last week. Keeper was in our section before I moved up there with you guys, and I sent him a picture, and he's like, "I hate you." so we are in a hate relationship right now. So.
Had you made the move up into our section when I gave Keeper the flag, or did that happen in the first half?
It was first half.
Okay. Well, it ended up draped over his face, and he could not get it unstuck from his snout and eyes, so it could not fly out behind him as he was running, and it was just the saddest flag parade I'd ever seen.
Dear. Oh, God.
You tried.
Yeah. Yeah, I did not see that, thankfully. But yeah, the mascot game definitely a highlight, if you will, of the Utica season.
So this is going to be the 6th meeting between Utica and Harrisburg on the season, the final meeting. Utica holds a 5-0 record at this point. Can we complete the season sweep?
Of course. So I saw on Harrisburg's social media, it looks like they're bringing up some guys from the Brew City Legends.
Yes, I saw that as well.
Just an M3 question mark team. So I mean, they're pretty much saying we're going to let a lot of young guys play. So I think you're going to see Macaulay in goal. Although I kind of want to see Willie be in goal again, one more time. But yeah, I mean, every other game they played against Harrisburg had been really close, except the one game where they went down to Harrisburg. I think they won 9-4 or something like that, or 9-5 or something like that. But I mean, their most pronounced victory was 10-5 last week in Harrisburg.
Yes.
And I mean, towards the end, it could have been 10-3. It easily could have been 10-3. They kind of took their foot off gas just a little bit and kind of gave them a couple more goals. But I don't see that happening. I mean, Utica will win on Sunday.
Do you have a predicted score?
I'm going to go high on this one. I'm going to go 11-4.
No, you're going really high.
I am. I mean, they scored 10 on the road.
Right.
So, I mean, I could say if Willie B's in net, I mean, 19-2, but I'll be nice. And I'll say it's definitely going to be over before the first half is done. At halftime, the game will be over, I think. So I would say 11-4.
So I'm not going to go that high. I do think 8-4 is reasonable. I would love to see the season sweep. We know how hard it is for that to happen in any league. Any professional league anywhere. Now, and I do want to touch back on the Brew City Legends. They are a PASL team.
Yes.
So not technically part of the pyramid of the MASL, but kind of part of the pyramid of the, like, if your pyramid had an attached garage, that's where they are. I expect we'll see Wilkin in goal. I know you could start Andrew. It's a 1-game weekend, but at this point, he's 5-0 against Harrisburg, and you know what they say: if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I'm going to disagree with you. I think you're going to see Coughlin in net. I think you're going to see Wilkin take goalie for both games next weekend. I think both Baltimore and Florida.
So you think Wilkin has taken the starter goalie job, or just kind of a what's the word I'm looking for here?
I think they're kind of gonna not play the percentages, but I think give Coughlin a chance to gain more. I mean, he has confidence. I've seen him play for years. I know he's capable of doing. Something just looks a little off, and I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. But I think he needs to gain that confidence back. We know he can do it.
Platoon. That's the word I was looking for. Kind of platooning the position.
Right. So I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see Coughlin in that.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that. You can't help but wonder if it's long COVID. Like.
I mean, you have both are viable options right now. So I mean, it wouldn't surprise either of us if Wilkins started in that or Coughlin started in that. It wouldn't surprise either of us. So.
Right. Yeah. A defense. That's where we might be seeing a little bit shoring up of this week, and if that happens, if Baltimore gets 4 or Harrisburg gets 4, that's going to be a lot of goals for them.
Yep.
Now, tomorrow or today, by the time you're listening to this, or maybe 2 days ago, or whenever you guys listen to it, Thursday, March 17th. I believe that is the roster freeze for the league. Do you see anyone being moved last minute?
From our team, no. I noticed the Baltimore signing, which he did have Utica ties a couple years ago. Stephen Drew signed with Baltimore. So, rather interesting. But from a Utica perspective, no. I think our team is solidified. I don't see any sort of trade signings. I think we have everyone we need.
Mm-hmm. Could you see Harrisburg maybe loaning out Willie B or Dom Francis for the end of the year if they decide to go all in on a rebuild?
I would be all for it. Will they do it? No. I think Harrisburg, what they want is they want these guys to teach the young talent the ropes. So I don't see it happening. Like I said, would it be nice? Of course. I think we have 2 great goalies right now. It would be nice if we had another midfielder. It'd be great if Elton De Oliveira wasn't hurt. And if they wanted to loan him to us, fine. That's a great addition on defense. But yeah, I don't see it happening. and I really don't see any other teams doing it. I think it's going to be a quiet. I think it's going to be quiet.
Yeah, I'd like to talk myself into believing that we'll see some trades or loans or anything, but that doesn't seem to be the MO of this league that much.
Well, I keep telling myself that we're going to have Darren Toby back, and everyone's going to come back, and everything's going to be fine. But here we are, 1 month away, 3 weeks away from the season ending, and we still don't have Darren Toby.
Yeah. Oh, that would be a huge piece on defense. Led the league in blocks a couple years ago, was defender of the year.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, Matt, I believe that's everything we have for tonight, unless you have anything else you'd like to add.
I can't think of anything. Maybe I'll throw this out there right now to you.
Okay.
Well, a couple of things.
Sure.
So, I'm sure you watched In the Box, and we talked about there was a thing done on team names by another YouTuber, MJSL.
Yes.
And Utica got last for not having a team name because they're lazy, whatever. Now, he mentioned bringing back the Silver Knights. Now, would you think that would be a good idea?
I just don't like the way the name rolls off the tongue. It's kind of long, and it doesn't get that alliteration bonus that you get from having it in Syracuse. I don't think Adam brought it up, but I did throw in the chat my suggestion, which was a bit of a tie to the area's history in the Revolutionary War. There's Fort Stanwix in Rome, 15 minutes away. There's the Fort Herkimer Church. The Battle of Oriskany wasn't too far away. I suggested the Utica Minutemen.
That would be a good one. That'd be yeah. I'd be down for that. Of course, I agreed with the Silver Knights because, I mean, it's kind of, it ties me back to Syracuse, and it ties me back to indoor soccer in Syracuse. But yeah, that was a really good one. Okay, all right, I can see that.
Now, if Utica was, they stick around a few more years, and they don't get shipped off to a major market like New York City.
Yeah, don't even get me going on
that. To compete with billion-dollar franchises.
Yeah.
I'm completely on board if Utica wanted to do a throwback day and break out Syracuse Silver Knights jerseys.
That would be cool. That would be cool. I also threw out the Utica Empire.
Again, yeah, I did like that one. That was a good sounding name.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think those.
Plus, then we could join the other teams doing Star Wars Day, and it's already made.
Exactly. Which, by the way, I have to look on the Florida is doing their Star Wars auction on eBay.
Yes.
It's weird. But yeah. So then, my second thing, I'm not calling you out.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of an ask.
Be my guest.
I'm sure you've seen on Utica City's Facebook page, they are doing something. What is it? The second? Is it during the Tacoma game? The relay race?
I believe that's this Sunday.
Oh, it is this Sunday.
Yes. Unfortunately, I'm not able to make that game. I'm working.
Okay. Well then.
The next game I can make, and I have it taken off for, and I've already told my boss I'm not going to rush in afterwards. I'm just taking the whole day, is the end of season against Chihuahua.
Well then, never mind.
Yes. Otherwise, yeah, I brought it up to the others in the podcast and got a resounding I don't run. But I was on board.
Well, I will sign up then because I would love a luxury suite.
Yeah, exactly. But best of luck to you.
Well,
if you do get picked to run.
Well, I don't really run either, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing. I think that's at halftime. We go.
Relay. So they want a relay team name. We can't run.
Well, I know you had at least 2 guys in the comments say that they would join you.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'll get people. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, so the race is this Sunday.
Yeah, I just saw it's this Sunday. But when is it? Because it wouldn't be like during...
It's got to be between quarters or maybe half. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But, all right. Well then. That's all we got.
All right. Well, Matt, thank you for filling in again tonight.
Anytime.
That said, we are rescinding the offer until you get us on In the Box.
We are. You let me know when you guys want to come on, and
Okay.
I don't even know if we're doing a show this week.
Right. Look, if you're not, I'm not going to complain. 9:00, there is a Dropkick Murphys concert streamed live from Boston that I was planning on tuning into.
Yeah, I might. So I mean, it's March Madness. So
yeah, that's also.
I will be pretty much glued to a TV somewhere in the Syracuse area. I might be back in my hotel at that point. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But we were supposed to have one of the play-by-play guys from Milwaukee, Art Kramer, who's been a part of indoor soccer for years and years. And he actually has pool league or some sort of pool or bowling or something like that on Thursday nights now. So yeah, we are definitely open for Thursday nights. So we can definitely work on a time. And
I'll talk to Brandon Michelle, see if we can get him on.
Yeah, absolutely.
If not, I've told Adam before, if he ever needs someone named Matt that's a Utica fan to fill in, I'm available. It's just going to be a little later because I don't get out of work until 8:00.
Right.
And back to Boonville by like 9.
And it can't be this week. So
right.
There you go.
Right. Yes, thank you for filling in. In the Box, you can find them as a Facebook group. There is a Twitter handle at ITB Corn Dogs or Corn Dog singular. I forget which one.
I forget.
You can find Matt mostly in the Facebook group or on the YouTube show every Thursday except this Thursday.
Possibly. I don't know.
Possibly.
We'll see how I am.
Well, it's going to be St. Paddy's Day, and you know what? Everyone's Irish that day.
Yes. Hopefully the luck of the Irish is blessing every one of your teams.
Yes. May the picks be ever in your favor.
Or in my case, not in my favor. I hope that changes, but we'll see.
All right, we'll call it here. Because I want to go catch this fourth quarter. It's now 4-3 Florida. With Ricardo Carvalho assisting on the next 2 goals for Florida.
Oh, nice.
And our old buddy Ricardo Diegues giving them the 4-3 lead.
That's a topic I don't want to talk about.
All right, but for everyone, thank you for listening. I'm Matt. That's been Matt signing off. Have a good night, good day, goodbye. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the Keeper's Corner podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to us so you never miss an episode. If that podcast app also has reviews, be sure to leave us 5 stars to let us know how we're doing and reach a larger audience. It really helps us out. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Keeper Corners Pod. And you can always find us there talking UCFC soccer. Thanks again for the support. It's truly appreciated. One last thing. Go Utica.